Ever feel like making friends as an adult is more challenging than it should be? You're not alone. Making connections as we get older can be challenging, but it's far from impossible. In today's video, we will explore why forming friendships as an adult is tough and how you can develop the courage to connect with others. Hi, my name's Pierre Kircher at Valor Coaching for Men. I help lonely professional men uncover their self-worth, conquer their limitations, and find the friends they deeply desire. Friendships are crucial for mental and emotional well-being, but many men struggle to form these relationships later in life. Let's talk about how to overcome these obstacles. As we get older, we have more responsibilities. We tend to have kids in the picture, and we go through life experiences that add weight to our shoulders. And these things affect our filter on how we see the world and how we approach potential new experiences in our life. Just touching on responsibilities, we are busier and we tend to have more responsibility, not just with kids, but in our jobs. We tend to get higher positions, we're asked to do more, we're showing up more, we might even be pursuing our own personal hobbies that don't necessarily interact with other people. But also, we may have had experiences in the past where friends have hurt us and let us down. There's also the fear of rejection. Ironically, fear of rejection from a friend or someone that you're reaching out to for a friend is not really much different from fear of rejection when you try and ask a girl on a date. So, as an example of the struggles of being busy, I tried to connect with someone at one stage and we essentially couldn't make it work because of our differing schedules. I was doing salsa at the time. It was not long after my separation, and I started talking to this guy after one of the dance sessions and felt like we had a lot in common. And so I was lonely at the time and knew that I needed to reach out. So I reached out and I asked him, I was like, let's catch up. Long story short, it didn't work out and nothing come from it because of our differing schedules. And so the busy schedule and responsibilities as an adult, it's very real, and I do want to acknowledge that. So just touching on my story that I just shared, something that I did do, and it's something that we want to do, we want to take the initiative of moving forward, is having the courage, taking that first step and being vulnerable and facing up to the possibility of rejection. Reach out when you... It's very interesting. Dr. Robert Glover from No More Mr. Nice Guy, I was listening to a podcast of his and he was discussing about how to approach a woman for, to get their number or try and see if there's any interest in cues. Essentially, though, you can do this anywhere just to get a conversation going. So you want to join a club, something that you're interested in, somewhere where you can connect with other people where you mutually just have something in common. Like a climbing gym. For me, I've had some good talks with some really nice people at the bouldering gym local to where I live. I've started going to Toastmasters recently, and I've started building a connection there. And essentially, the principles are the same, really, to whether you're approaching a woman or if you want to approach a man. Like, I'm just talking from a basic point of being really introverted. We're really lonely. We're not very good at connecting. And the first step is literally to go up to someone and just ask them, how's your day going? Or how's your week going so far? And that is a very basic way of creating dialogue, opening up dialogue to chat between the two of you. If it starts to organically flow, like if someone throws something out there in the conversation, that is an indication that they're interested in that conversation, if that makes sense. And from there, you can continue to nurture the conversation, show interest, use active listening, and ask more questions, and they will appreciate that. And being that we're looking for people that are like-minded, we're already in the right place because we're at a place like a club or a gym or some sort of hobby, like it could be squash, and you're at the squash courts or something. So you already know you've got something in common, and then you're using active listening, and you've asked after their day, they've asked after your day, and then there's a bit of a conversation going on, and you'll get a fairly good indication on what the vibes are like. Are they positive? Is there mutual interest? And then you can say, oh, hey, look, this has been a good yarn. This has been a good chat. I've appreciated it. These are my words. You don't have to use these specific words. But then you can say, look, do you want to catch up for a coffee or go for a beer or something at some stage? And then, like a date, grab their number or grab some way of communicating. It could be their social media handle or whatever. I'm just starting to show my age a little bit here. But that is essentially how you can make a connection. And I really want to emphasize on when you make that sort of connection, make sure to get a way of communicating with them in that moment. Don't wait for another moment. There's been multiple times where I've connected with people and had good talks. We've talked about catching up more in the future, didn't get a form of contact right there and then nothing's come from it. And I've felt really let down about myself for not doing that. So going by what I've already said, as you can tell, one key thing that we really want to focus and work on is courage. It is hard to approach someone and start a conversation, especially if we haven't done it before. Like everything, it is like a muscle. Our social ability is like a muscle, and when we work it more, it will get easier. I can promise you, it will get easier. At the start, you'll probably shit bricks. It probably will be challenging until you do it a couple of times, and then you'll realize, oh wow, there's not really that much to this. But courage is key, and when we build our courage muscle, it really helps to reduce that fear of rejection. Have the courage and be pleasantly surprised. And if you do get turned down, know that it's okay. It's not actually a personal attack. It's not actually a fault on you. Unless, of course, you're really rude. But we know that you're not going to be like that, right? And so, yes, courage. I just want to acknowledge that courage is a big part of reaching out and making friends, making new friends. As an ex-lonely man, I can really appreciate what it feels like to be really alone and how unhealthy my life was and my mental state was when I felt alone. And so that's why it's so important for us to work on these things and develop the courage to create the friends, find the friends that we deeply desire. It enriches our life so much when we've got those like-minded people. I want to put a note there that they don't even necessarily have to be like-minded. There's a certain group of ideals that can help people connect. So you can still have your differences as long as you connect in the area of, say, communicating and sharing who you are as a person. And then you might respect each other, even though you're quite different. You might respect each other for the fact that you can trust each other, that you'll share your thoughts. And in fact, it's actually healthy for us to have different minded people around us so we don't live in these echo chambers. That's almost going to lead me down a tangent for another day. Our life satisfaction when we have these great people, these great friends that we deeply desire in our life, dramatically increases. Our life expectancy increases, and the loneliness that is killing us slowly, or even if it's really bad, not so slowly, that's reducing and becomes null and void. When I was younger, I used to idolize the idea of having lots of friends. I have been a loner my whole life, from primary school right through, dropped out of school, went into the workforce, loner until my late teens when I intentionally started to really try and take that on and build multiple circles of friends. So I used to really idolize this idea of lots of friends. And then for a small period of time there, I did have lots of friends. And having lots of friends, I still didn't actually feel like I fit in anywhere. I had multiple social groups, social circle groups. I had one primary one, and that was the closest I got to feeling like I fit in. That was, yeah, definitely my closest experience I had to a good group of friends. They are a good bunch of people. I'm not taking away from that at all. It was about my journey. And so I idolized this idea of lots of friends. I got lots of friends and I was still lonely. And there's two factors there. One being my self-worth, and I didn't actually know who I was. And then the other one being that I wasn't sharing truly who I was. To some degree, do still like the idea of having a big community of like-minded people, contrary to what I was saying before. When I say like-minded in this instance, I'm just talking like the coaching industry, and I want to have like-minded coaches around me, right? But anyway, yeah, I had this idea that I wanted lots of friends. Part of my personal journey with removing loneliness from my life has actually been that I have learned to cherish and focus on the friendships that I already do have. I live a fairly busy lifestyle, and so it's not actually a high priority for me to increase my in-person network at the moment. I know I want to do it more in the future, but it's not what I'm doing right now. However, I have really started to nurture the relationships between my family and the relationships between the few friends, good friends that I do have, and that in itself has helped dramatically. If you're ready to build meaningful connections and transform your social life, start today by taking the first courageous step. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more future tips on building authentic friendships. Remember, friendships are worth the effort. They increase our health and well-being across the board. Keep pushing forward and you will find the friends that you deeply desire. That's it for today, team. I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and we'll talk again soon.